never had a better location than this. How about this setup, knowing that there's a parade that's about to come right underneath us?
Yeah, this is great. And Johnny, sitting about 10 feet away, was one of the very first people I met when I came to Oxford in 1995. He used to bring his sons to watch us play pickup basketball at the Tad Pad, and I had to, on a couple of occasions, have to go out and say I'm sorry for some of the activity that happened, some of the language, some of the different things. I was young boys, and so that's a true story. But Johnny is great, still do my banking here at FMB, so really good friend.
He's been the president here for a long time, kind enough to let us hang out here today, and big Ole Miss guy. He is, and you mentioned basketball. I mean, Johnny Barrett's been going to Ole Miss basketball games for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Pride of Macon, Mississippi also.
That's right. And in 1995, I mean, there were 3 people watching us play pickup. He and his 2 sons. And nobody else cared, and he was there. And so, yeah, he's been around for a while. And that's what's pretty cool about this situation. There's so many people that have been around and been faithful and been through some hard times and ups and downs and heartbreaks. It's just so awesome for them to get a championship and for Mike and the team to bring it to Oxford and Ole Miss. It's great for them, obviously, but it's great for everyone, so it's really cool.
I'm glad you mentioned that. You're going to hear a conversation that I had with Mike Bianco coming up in just a few minutes. And I said to that, I said, obviously this national championship belongs to you and your team. You're the guys that went out and did it. But do you look at the way you have been welcomed back by the Ole Miss community, whether it's 3,000 or 4,000 people in the Grove or the crowd that was in Omaha or what this is going to be, and say, okay, yeah, it's ours, but it belongs to a whole lot more people?
Yeah, and I don't know how he answered that, but I would bet that he would say something to the effect of, what I just said, that, yeah, everybody deserves this. Everybody's been waiting for this. This has happened with a lot of people. I mean, if you look back over 22 years of him building the program, so many people that have supported him and the team, and so many great players that have come through and have gotten close, and that's just how Mike is. I mean, he's not gonna take any of the attention for himself. He's gonna put everything to the players, to the fans, and all of that. But it's really cool, and for a small town like Oxford and a place like Ole Miss, just like in Starkville and Mississippi State last year, this is a really, really big deal.
I had a preacher a few years ago that he actually married Jane and me, and his sermon style was he would kind of present a lesson, and then to wrap it up, he would say, "So what? What's the point?" And then now what? Kind of what's the takeaway that went along. If we said that for this Ole Miss team and this Ole Miss program, they've now won a national championship. Now what?
Well, I think that the first thing is you just enjoy it. I mean, you look at the body of work with Coach B. You look at some of these teams and players that have come through. And for this team, somebody asked me, I think on the SEC Network the other day, they were asking about Tim Elko and just my relationship with him. And I told them, I said, you have 3 kids at home. You can't have favorites. And I have 400 student athletes, and I can't have favorites, but Tim's up there, and I'll say that about this team. They're up there, just with those guys coming back, with what they've been through, going to, got guys that have been to at least 2 different super regional final game 3s, hadn't made it to Omaha, and then to make it. I think you have to enjoy it, you have to savor it, and you have to realize that, this is a big deal for those guys in that clubhouse. But then I think you look at it as, man, we just did something really special, something we've never done before. How's that going to affect recruiting? How's that going to affect what we do moving forward? And you don't want to think about next year just yet and the years after that. But I think it sets you up for opportunities to go back to Omaha and do it again. I think now we've seen we can do it. We've seen how many Ole Miss fans will go to Omaha if you're there. I think it's now you're going to enjoy this one. But if I know Coach B and Coach Laff and Coach Clem, they're going to start thinking about the next one pretty soon.
So you were in Omaha for 10, 11 days, from the opening ceremonies all the way through the final out. Spend that last night there. I'm curious, what's the lasting image for you? When 6 months from now or 2 years from now you think back to this run, what's going to be the image that pops in your mind?
Well, I sat there in the 9th inning, and normally in big games, we'll go down to the field, if it's football or baseball or whatever, we'll go down to the field before the end of the game because we want to be there for the celebration or whatever. This one, again, being superstitious, we had sat up in the suite for the whole game, so we waited to the very end. Well, the last 3 outs, when Brandon came in and just shoved and struck everybody out, it just, I had a fresh arm, hadn't pitched all postseason. when the final strike happened, it was just, to me, it was more just a sense of relief. I mean, it was a sense of, man, this is the culmination of so many great things, so many great players, so many, Coach B building this program and getting to this point. But it was almost just a surreal relief feeling for him, for his family, for our team, for our program, that we had reached that pinnacle, and now he's totally solidified himself as who he needs to be, our coach. And it got down on the field, and something that really stuck with me was the embrace that he and Cammie had. You could just tell, like, there was more than just a hug. I mean, there was a lot in that, and I just watched that and watched him hug all of his kids, and I was the next person to give him a hug, and I just said, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm happy for you. And then I went to celebrating with the team and doing all that stuff, which was great. But I'm just happy for Mike and his family.
Have you started pricing statues?
People started talking about statues last year, and finally it was so heavy on Twitter I had to respond like, hey, I hear you about the statues. And then, of course, this year. But now they're asking for multiple statues, multiple people. So maybe we can get like a Sam's Club discount on statues or something, buy in bulk,
So buy bronze in bulk.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to look into it. But I have a feeling whether it's statues, whether it's plaques, there's going to be some cool stuff that goes up for this group.
I think it was in the post-game radio show. You jumped in with Brad Henderson, and I didn't hear it live. I was there, so I'll kind of get you to go down that road. This was not an easy season on a lot of fronts, and there were some difficult conversations along the way, and there was some difficult fan sentiment along the way, and you got to a point where you were able to say, Mike Bianco's our coach until he doesn't want to be. Take me just a step farther on that.
Well, yeah, it was tough. I mean, there were emails, and we didn't play well. I mean, there was a month there where we didn't play well. The players would tell you that. The coaches would tell you that. And the fans saw that. And, I think that they kind of looked at it as we have this talented team. We're not playing well, and is it getting stale? Is whatever. And my whole thing the whole time was that let's let it play out. Like, Omaha has been what you've talked about all these years. Like, we don't get to Omaha enough. Well, now you're griping in the middle of the season. Let's at least wait till we see what's going to happen. And I think that's why you have to do it, because we knew this team had the talent. We knew Coach B and his staff had the experience to pull them out of that tough season, part of the season. But yeah, it's been tough. And for me, I think that was part of my feeling after the game the other night, was certainly for Coach, certainly for Cammie, certainly for their family, the program, but just selfishly for myself. I mean, it was just nice to know, like, we don't have to worry about that anymore. So if people want to email me from now on, they can. I'm not responding. I'm not responding to texts. Whatever your feeling is, Coach B is our guy. We're working with his representation over the next few weeks to make sure that he's in a good place with his contract and all that.
You get a raise when you win a national championship, don't you?
Absolutely. He's got incentives. We're happy to pay him. We're getting those checks out. And so, it's just one of those deals where it's been tough on everyone for the past couple years. And right, wrong, indifferent, it's been tough. And now that sense of relief that, hey, we're moving forward. We're natty champs, and Coach B's our guy.
I wonder what that's like. Can you imagine being a major coach and you hit, like, the biggest milestones? I mean, I know these guys are compensated well, but it's like, is that actually a check or is that a direct deposit? You get one of those big cardboard checks, like, here's your national championship
that's what I would
bonus.
ask for. Yeah. I would go Happy Gilmore on it.
We've done it a lot of different ways. We've presented the check. We've done it direct deposit. It is pretty cool to walk over and say, here you go, Coach. Here's your check from the Athletics Foundation, and congratulations on your national championship. But put it like this, we won't disclose any numbers. They're going to have a pretty good summer. Mike's going to have a pretty good summer. It's going to be. And
again, Team USA is sending him to the Netherlands, and I guess if he wants to go on vacation after that,
he can go stand like the Grand Floridian or something if he wants to.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing for you: the big Ole Miss campaign. There were now and forever
champions now.
Champions now. Sorry.
How ironic.
There was a baseball. Ooh. I hear what you did.
Hey, we don't just do things out of the blue. Like we talk.
You planned it out.
These things are planned.
Yeah.
There was a baseball piece in that, and there are a lot of moving parts, and things are really expensive right now. We got less than a minute left. The baseball stuff, does that get pushed up or accelerated at all?
I think it could. Obviously sold 8,200 season tickets this year. I know the seating component of that could certainly be moved up. There's some other components we might try to phase out and master plan, the baseball facility, but I think we're going to have to start looking at seating because I have a feeling we're going to sell a lot more season tickets this year. We turned people away this past year.
Yeah.
And so after a national championship, it's going to continue. But, yeah, we'll look at baseball for sure.
No, it's a busy day, busy week. Appreciate you making a few minutes for us.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Keith Carter, Athletics Director at Ole Miss, visiting with us as we get set for the championship parade right behind us.